Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Ayobola Debowale, your baby's doctor, and today we'll be talking about ear infection in children. This is very common, especially in children between the ages of 6 months and 2 years thereabouts. They're actually very prone to ear infections. So we're talking about ear infections, how to recognize ear infections, the treatment and prevention of ear infections. But before we go into that, I have a question and I have a myth. That myth, we're going to debunk it today. We're going to say if it's actually a myth or a fact. So for the question is, why are bottle-fed children more prone to infections, ear infections, than breastfed children? Then the myth, which you're going to tell me if it's a myth or a fact, is how or if lying down to feed a baby predisposes a child to ear infections. So you get it, right? The question, why are bottle-fed children more prone to ear infections than breastfed children? And then the myth, which we are going to say if it's a myth or a fact, is if lying down actually causes ear infection in children. These I would answer at the end of the video. But while we wait, please drop your comments in the section below so that we can actually see, want to learn from your experience, want to know what you know about ear infections, bottle-fed children versus breastfed children. So please drop your comments in the section below with the hashtag your baby's doctor question, with the hashtag your baby's doctor myth. And if you have any question on any social media outlet and you think you want me to contribute or say something about it, just put the hashtag your baby's doctor. I always look for those hashtags and attend to those questions. So that is what we'll be talking about today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, 2022 is here. Woohoo! Yes, so let's make 2022 beautiful for all of us. Thank you so much for joining me always. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so. Just click the subscribe button just below this video and like my videos. Please like my videos. Please like my videos. So thank you so much. I'll be with you shortly. So I wouldn't want to start this video without talking about the ear. You know, most of us, what we know about the ear is this, just this. But if you, of course, did a form of science, biology in school, secondary school, you know that the structure of the ear goes deeper than this, okay? So the ear is divided into three parts: the outer ear, which is this, basically, and of course, the connection between this and the inner ear, okay? Okay, so that's a picture of the structure of the ear. So you can see the outer ear from the flap to the tympanic membrane, which is what we call the eardrum, and then the middle ear, which is the tympanic membrane, to the inner ear, and then the inner ear, which is the one that helps us with balancing and movement. So that is basically where or how your ear is divided. It's divided into three. Now for infections, mostly infections will occur mostly in the middle ear and the outer ear, and very, very commonly in children, usually the middle ear is where children have infection. Like every other infection, ear infections, or what we call otitis media, which is when it affects the middle ear, are caused by viruses, bacteria, and even fungal, but those are in rare cases. But the most common cause of otitis in children, of course, is bacterial infection. So bacterial and viral infections are what causes otitis media in children, and it is very, very common. In fact, it is one of the top 5 common causes of fever in children less than 5 years old. So that is why this video is actually very important, so that you can recognize otitis media on time and, you know, take the child to the hospital for proper management. So now, what are the things that you would see in your child that will make you suspect that the child has ear infection? Number one, the child can be irritable. So there can be excessive cry, is fuzzy, irritable, not feeding. Of course, the child looks sick. And of course, the child can be tugging on the ear, especially for children that cannot tell you that, Mom, my ear is paining me, or I'm having ear pain. A baby would, you know, start doing things like this, trying to tug on the ear. So when you have things like that, child is irritable, excessive cry, you should actually suspect that there is an infection going on in that ear. Another thing is fever. Like I said, it is one of the common causes of fever, and the fever is usually very high. Okay, so when your child has fever, in fact, when you go to the hospital to see a pediatrician when your child has fever, it is very common for the pediatrician to check the ear and the throat of your child, because those are the common causes of fever in children, especially those less than 5. So they can have fever. Another thing that you might see, which does not occur all the time, is discharge. So you can see some things coming out of the ear, probably like water or like pus or whatnot coming out of the ear. So when you see that, it shows that your child has ear infections. For older children, they can have things like trouble hearing and all that. But the most common ones that you see are ear pain, which is evidenced by irritability, excessive cry, ear tugging. Of course, if the child can talk, child will say, "Mom, my ear is paining me." Of course, like I said, the second is fever, and then the third is, well, discharge from the ear. So those are the common things that you would see that will make you feel like your child, or make you suspect that your child has ear infections. And what do you do when your child has ear infection? Nothing at home. Run to the hospital. Take your child to the hospital. The child will be evaluated. The ear will be looked at, and then, of course, if there is a discharge, samples will be taken, and the child will be given appropriate treatment for the ear infection. Ear infection is not something you manage at home. Why? Because it can get complicated. It can get so bad that if you don't treat ear infections very well, because of the connection, everything here in this head is connected. Your eye is connected to your mouth, your nose, ear, throat, they are all connected. And then the worst of them is that they are all connected to your brain. So if you don't treat any infection that is going on here very well, it can get to the brain and cause meningitis, infection of the brain meninges, and that is a whole big problem entirely. It can also cause, collection of pus in the brain. I'm sure nobody wants to get to that level. So please, when your child has otitis media, or you suspect that there's something wrong with your child's ear, please go to the hospital so that the child can get the appropriate treatment to prevent complications. Now, how do you prevent otitis media? Well, good news. Number one, children that are exclusively breastfed anyhow have a form of immunity, let me use that word, against otitis media. So breastfeeding is actually very protective, which is one of the reasons why we encourage you, mothers, to breastfeed your child exclusively for 6 months, so that you can also prevent otitis media, amongst other things. Of course, breastfeeding, otitis media, and gastrointestinal issues, diarrhea and all that, they are prevented when you breastfeed your child. So breastfeeding is like number one when it comes to prevention of otitis media. Number two, we advise that you get your child vaccinated. So get those shots, get the flu shots, get all the shots that the child is supposed to have, pentavalent vaccine and all that. Those can also help you to reduce the risk of otitis media. Number three, if your child is prone to allergies, you have to actually manage the allergies very well, because that also makes them prone to otitis media. Unfortunately, there are some children that, because of the structure of the ear, inner ear, middle ear, they are actually more predisposed to otitis media. Unfortunately, for those ones, you have to seek medical advice to see if something can be done to help adjust the structure of the ear and prevent otitis media. Now, to my question, which is, I'm going to answer that question now because it has something to do with prevention. The question I asked was, why are bottle-fed babies more predisposed to otitis media? Bottle-fed babies, especially when you're feeding a baby with a bottle that is not well ventilated, if there's anything like that, it creates a negative pressure. So when the baby is sucking from the bottle, this is physics. I didn't like physics, but of course these are some of the things that we had to learn. We had to learn to get through medical school. Okay, so it creates a negative pressure which allows fluid and some other things in the oral cavity to move into the connection between. I told you there's a connection. Am I confusing you? I'm not trying to confuse you. Okay, there's a connection between the throat, the nose, and the ears. Okay, so there's this tube we call the eustachian tube. I tried not to make it hard, but this negative pressure from the bottle when the child is sucking in goes through and pushes, the fluid, the bacteria. We usually have bacteria in our mouth and all that, into that eustachian tube, which is the connection between the throat and the ears. And this can predispose a child to otitis media. So that is why bottle-fed children, are more at risk of otitis media. Apart from the fact that when you breastfeed a child, the child is likely to get more antibodies, immunoglobulin, and protection from the mother's breast. This is also a reason why a child that is bottle-fed can have more otitis media. So when you have to bottle-feed your child for reasons that you have established that are actually cogent reasons why you have to bottle-feed your child, it means you have to raise your child in an upright position to do that, to avoid ear infections in your children. Now to the myth. Okay, I know a lot of people will argue with this. All right, the myth is lying down makes your child prone to otitis media. Is this a myth or a fact? A myth or a fact? A myth or a fact? Unfortunately, it is a myth because it has not been scientifically proven that lying down to breastfeed your child increases the risk of otitis media. The explanation that was given before now, of course, people have done research and nothing has shown any difference between the positioning. Okay, but the explanation that was given before now is that, of course, when you lie down to breastfeed your child, because of the connection between the throat and the ears, milk can enter. That's number one. Number two, another one is that sometimes when you breastfeed your child, milk can come out through the mouth and enter the ear and cause infections. But unfortunately, these have not been proven to be true. So for now, it is a myth. However, I'll put the however. Please understand that there are plenty risks associated with lying down to feed your baby. Number one is your baby is at risk of choking when lying down to feed, which is why, of course, even when you're breastfeeding, we advise that you prop your baby up a little so your baby does not choke when breastfeeding. Number two, if you slip off, a lot of things can go wrong in the process. The child can be smothered, and a lot of things can actually happen. So it is actually quite dangerous to lie down to feed your baby. Although if you do it with the right technique, they say that is the right technique, that is how to do it, it is fine. But truthfully, if you can avoid it, please just avoid it. So avoid stories that touch. So yes, that statement that lying down increases the risk of otitis media is a myth and not a fact. When it is proven, I'll come back to make a video to tell you that now it is proven that lying down to feed your baby increases the risk of otitis media. But for now, it's a myth. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope this video was very helpful. If it was very helpful, please give me a thumbs up, give me a thumbs up, give me a very, very, very big thumbs up. Happy 2022 to you people. It's been a fun ride so far, and I know that 2022 has a lot of things in store for us. Thank you so much for joining me. I remain Ayobola Adebowale, your baby's doctor. Remember to subscribe to my channel, and together we grow in 2022. See you next time. Bye.